Who cares what atheists have to say? That's interesting. I mean, I could throw it back and say, who cares what theists have to say? But that's kind of an insult that doesn't really do anything. I can kind of relate, though, because, I mean, a quick example is the Earth flat, right? So who cares what a flat earther says? There is a fact to whether or not the Earth is flat or round, right? So, yeah, it's kind of like who cares what the flat earthers say because they're wrong. But if we were in the same situation with a theist, where essentially we are, in the sense that, 80, 90% of a country believes in a God and that appears to not comport with reality, at some point, society will shift to coping with this, and also coping with concepts of death and things like that. So it's important. I mean, I understand if you're a theist and you don't want to care and pay attention to us, then you're not. I don't even know why you're on the line. On the thread. If it's who cares, but I care about what's true. And even more important than that, I care about wanting to know what is true, which means if something that I think is true is actually false, or probably false, according to the best we can do these days, I want to know, and I want to correct myself, because I think my life will be better operated working through correct information, and especially not from continually practicing historical ancestral practices, much of which has been shown to be false for sure. Like, flat earth, 6,000-year-old, that kind of thing. So I respect you. Can I join you as a guest? I'm trying. Oh, there you are. I'm going to accept your... Says clips. Is that right? My eye's a little off. Is that clips or two? I see two eyes. Yeah, I got you.
I just want to know, what do you think happens after you die?
Same thing that happens to your cat after it dies, although maybe a different cemetery. I think to be more serious about it, I think we basically decompose. I mean, I don't mean to be glib about that, but we are a pattern of molecules that perpetuates itself. We take in energy, right, and food, and we keep ourselves going, but we seem to have a sort of a run-out date, right? We age, and then things finish, and I think that's the end of it. I think it's all physics and chemistry.
So just blackness. That's pretty much it.
Well, in a sense, not even.
Well, I mean, like a sense of nothingness, I should say, not blackness.
Yeah, well, it's like being asleep. You just like when you're not dreaming, you're just, it's like unawareness. You won't even be aware that you died because you have no mind to think about it and no brain function.
With the response to that question, I just want to know if you know, or at least if you believe that there's nothing after you die, why are you on a TikTok live and not living your life like to your fullest extent if it's limited?
Well, part of that is an odd answer in terms of, well, maybe I don't think it's odd. In terms of we don't know why we like what we like. Why do I like chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla? I find this interesting. That's the simplistic question. Okay, I was somewhat fascinated a number of years ago by finally noticing that people believed different things given the same information. So that actually was causing stress in me, mental stress, and I wanted to understand that better. So that's a piece of it. I am also concerned about the harm that certain beliefs cause, particularly by imposing on others. So I am hoping, I don't know, I want to spend some of the years I have left doing this sort of education-ish kind of stuff.
All right, yeah. There's some people in chat saying, I did not mean
spend some
anything
time.
bad by that.
No,
That
that's a
was
good
not.
question.
I was saying because there's some people
answering it honestly.
like chasing.
It's not the only thing I do. I enjoy my morning coffee. I enjoy my morning TV. I enjoy when I get to read and do video games. So, yeah.
So that's pretty much all I had, but thank you for putting me on here.
Okay. Take care.
I don't know how to leave, so can you just remove me?
That should be easier for you than me, to be honest, because I've been trying to figure this one out. This seems
I don't know either.
Let's say, okay. I know if I roll back in comments, I can find you there and pull up a menu. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Good night. Talk to you later.
Yep.
Okay. If I got it right, that should drop him. And if I didn't get it right, I don't want to block
still
you.
here.
You are still here. I don't know why that is.
That comment on your clip. My bad if I seen it. Just the way you said it. I thought you were like one of those Christians who were just instantly like, well, if you don't believe in God, what are you doing with your life? Why are you? I thought you were one of those, and I just hate Christians like that so much.
No.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry if I came off like that.
No, that's fine.
So why is this not?
Do you know how to leave? I don't know how to leave.
You just can you just swipe out?
Yeah, okay. All right, see ya.
Okay.
But no,
I'm trying to figure out how to...
I was raised in an extremely religious family. Recently I told my grandpa that I wasn't really feeling this. I had a lot of questions to ask him, and a lot of them went unanswered, and he got pretty upset with me. He it was I don't know. The questions he just couldn't really answer. It was I was Grandpa, God is good, right? Grandpa, God is good, right? And he was like, yeah. How did the conversation go exactly? It was a tough conversation because he was pretty upset. But yeah, I was asking some real questions to him, God is good, and I started asking questions did God create if God is good, shouldn't the earth be good as well? Shouldn't everything on earth be good? And he was he said the earth is good, and I'm like Grandpa, why do you only look at the good in the earth? There's earthquakes and stuff. I started thinking about I can't just look at the good in that. When I was Christian, I feel that's what I was kind of forced to look at. Just look at the good. Just look at the good. Just look at the good on the earth, and just look at the good the good around you, but ignore the bad. Just think of the bad as the devil or whatever. The devil not wanting to see you.
That's an interesting answer, because it seems like a lot of people I run into and on these types of discussions are into the fallen earth, and we're all sinners and we're all terrible and we're only saved by the grace of God stuff. So it's nice to hear someone being a Christian and saying, look at the good stuff. I mean, because there's good and bad, obviously. So that's good. That's nice.
Yeah, and then my grandpa, he's scared because he thinks I'm gonna end up in hell or whatever now because I'm not accepting Jesus. And I'm well, Grandpa, God, as God, you think God is all knowing, right? So as the all knowing God, He did create me knowing that I was gonna take this path and stop believing in Him. So I think it would have been better for Him as a God to just not create me to begin with, knowing that I was not going to believe in Him. He basically forced me to my death.
How about this? You're using, according to their belief, you're using the brain that God gave you, right? So how could you possibly be deserving of punishment for not believing in Him?
Literally.
So it's my thing is when people do that whole, when you die and go to the pearly gates kind of thing, what are you going to say? I'm going to say I was honest, and I gave you. I mean, I used what you gave me, kind of a thing.
Right. So, literally, I believe in things that can be proven. A lot of things I won't need to be proven right away. If my friend told me I don't know, he his car didn't start up this morning, so he was late to work. Okay, versus I don't know, a unicorn ran into his car. That's why he couldn't make it to work. I would want some kind of some kind of I wouldn't be so well, oh, that makes sense. I would look right. Do you have any a little bit of proof? It's the horn
more than a story.
So with God,
Let's,
it's just like you guys. It's like it seems like a fairy tale to me now that I've really like grown up. Like the Bible itself, like all these different stories, like the flood, the like all that. Like no, it just doesn't sit right with me, and it's very hard to believe in that realistically. Like if God really wants me to believe, and He's all powerful and all that, He could tap me on the shoulder right now, and I'd believe in Him right now. But if like he knows what it would take to get me to believe in it, wouldn't take much. But like
yeah.
Christianity is just like any other religion. I feel like it, and I feel like no religion is really true. I haven't explored all religions, but from just knowing the human mind, we're really good at making stuff up. Like
Yeah, that's to me is the strongest evidence against, if you will, is that every culture has come up with creation stories and deities and just every. I mean, like 30,000 cultures throughout history. Let's say hi to Jamie here. Hello, Jamie.
How are you doing?
How are you doing?
Can you hear me?
Welcome up. I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, I was a Pentecostal pastor for over 30 years, actually, myself.
Oh my gosh. Were you raised Pentecostal?
Yes. I'm still one of those that can still speak in tongues and all that.
I think that's like, okay, I don't want to interrupt your story. So what started to change your mind, or what triggered?
I joined the Army, and I got to looking at things like, because I'd never heard of an atheist. I always thought people was a religion or a backslider, but I never heard atheist. Then I met one in the Army, and this dude was the best person I've ever met in my life. And I was like, wait a minute, this is not what I was told. And I got to doing research, and after the facts, I couldn't no longer believe because of the facts.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's a good trigger. And that's one reason I like to try to be normal on here when I talk to people, and kind, and not just say, you're dumb, because frankly, dumb is not a factor, and it's not the reason. Because I mean, when I say recommend to people that if you can, you won't lose your job for it or something, be an out atheist. Let people know that you're an atheist and show them that you're a decent person.
That's why this is the first time I've ever been on the live, like talking, but I go into a friend of mine he's a preacher, but I'll go in there and I listen, I'll talk, and I tell him I'll never be disrespectful because I may be the only atheist they see, and maybe it could change your mind, maybe, I don't know. That's what I'm kind of hoping for.
Yeah, and honestly, in that kind of environment, I guarantee you, there are others that have some doubts and stuff, and are maybe getting frustrated because they've asked questions too that have never been answered, and they've been told to don't ask questions, or they've been told to just go away and have faith, and these types of unsatisfactory answers. And just knowing that there's other atheists out there. Sometimes I'll wear a t-shirt and stuff. I got one that says atheist period, keep calm and carry on. It's just I'm there.
That's got me a shirt that says I'm being sent to hell in every religion.
wait, it's a guy saying he can explain some of my questions. Colson I want to hear what he has to say. Colson in the comments.
In the comments? Where's Colson? Okay, I'm gonna bring Colson up, and then we'll have a no, it's not a 3-way, it's a 4-way.
I feel like it's gonna be like a free will thing, but like.
All right.
I already know it. I already feel like that.
Yo.
Hey Colson, welcome up.
So, what is your questionings about Christianity, Jokaji?
Some of the contradictions in it, and some of the things that just don't sit right with me. A lot of things that don't sit right with me. It seems like a man-made book. It doesn't seem.
Well, it was written by man.
But wasn't it inspired by God or whatever?
It was inspired, but it was written by the apostles.
Okay. So is the Bible's word true? Is everything in the Bible true?
Yeah.
Did the flood happen?
Yes.
Well, we know there are contradictions in the Bible. How do you deal with contradictions, Colson?
Every single contradiction has been explained online. You can easily look that up.
No.
Yeah.
Wait,
and there are contradictions that absolutely. I mean, we're not going to go through them here, obviously, but
we do not know who wrote the Gospels. We do not know the people that wrote them.
That's true too.
They are known.
There's scriptures, literature, all kinds of things.
We don't know who wrote
around the time.
I mean, the thing goes back to 1500 BC, Colson. We have no idea who Moses was. We don't even know if Moses was a person or a composite.
Well,
To go all the way
Quran,
very back to the beginning.
the Bible, there's two separate things of scriptures that we can look back into. I mean, does it make any sense how two, books both talk about Moses?
What do you mean, two sets of scriptures? Can you explain that?
The Quran and the Bible, they both talk about Moses.
Well, that doesn't matter. The Quran was written 700 years later.
Yeah,
and they had access to They had access to the Bible, and they referred to Adam and Eve and stuff. So they were adding on to the Bible, much like Mormonism tried to essentially add on and put their own culture on top of it. So, yeah, that doesn't count as two. That counts as one, and like I say, another culture trying to put themselves.
It's either we can't prove it or we can prove it with Moses and all those people. So I mean, there's no definitive proof of him not actually being alive and doing all these things.
Of who now? Moses? There's no proof of him not being alive. That is a very, very low bar, Colson. That is a very low bar.
Where's the proof of him not being ever living?
You can't absolutely prove anything or disprove anything. So
that's why at least
you're justifying belief that a guy named Moses existed because there's no absolute proof that he didn't exist. That's your bar.
Well, I mean, you could say that about people that lived 2,000 years ago. That just their names.
That's true. That's true. So I mean, and the ones who say stuff like Alexander the Great is the one that usually comes up, right? The ones who say stuff like "I am a god," like he did, and several others did. I mean, Caesar called himself a god. We pretty much dismiss that because these were just rulers trying to assuming they existed, that they were trying to give themselves sort of a justification for people to follow their demands, basically. So why would we take anybody's word in that ancient culture or any culture that old as being, the correct one? So,
it's the number one religion in the world.
Not for long. It is the number one religion since what, 500? I don't actually know when it first took over.
Muslim faith right now is actually the fastest growing religion.
Yeah, Islam is going to take over in around 2050, 2070, somewhere in that range is the current slope. So that argument will fall away. So that's not really an argument.
And then I feel like the Bible, I think it contradicts just science in general. Doesn't it basically say the Earth is flat?
Well,
it takes shape like clay under a seal or something like that.
That's taking text out of context. Literally, you can apply science to the Bible.
Okay. Give me an example. Give me an example, Colson. Let's get more specific here. Give me an example.
You can believe in science and be a Christian.
Yes, you can.
God created science.
No, God didn't create science. Are you kidding?
Science is just man-made, I guess.
Science. God didn't create science. Man created philosophy, and then they called it natural philosophy when it was about natural things, and then they called it metaphysics when it was supposed to be about beyond physics, right? And then once we got into experimentation and added that, natural philosophy started being called science. And then that's about, I want to say 1600s. When was the Royal Society of London created, the first scientific society? No, I didn't
really believe it was just Adam and Eve, and we just came from Adam and Eve. That still baffles me.
Well, anything's possible.
Adam and Eve.
Anything is not possible.
Anything's possible with God.
No, just think about it though. Adam and Eve, did God see I don't know if I can say incest? Did God deem incest necessary? Did he see that as good? Because that's what had to happen if it was just Adam and Eve. Regardless, either Adam had to have kids with his kids, or his kids had to either way, it had to be some kind of incest. I don't think it was just Adam and Eve. I feel like evolution makes a lot more sense. And a lot of people are thinking we evolved from monkeys. No, we're not monkeys. We are actually apes. Apes, gorillas are our cousins.
The theory of is the theory, but evolution is a fact.
Evolution is a theory. It's high theory.
Natural selection is the theory. Evolution is a fact.
Yeah, can we like observe evolution? Didn't it like happen to some moths and we like actually observed it? Like their color just changed just like that.
We see evolution every day in every hospital in the world through in bacterial resistance.
Yeah,
That's
biology. Evolution is the backbone of biology.
Yeah.
I just feel like that makes more sense than whatever the Bible says. Just Adam and Eve and like the
it doesn't go into
in the garden and all that other stuff.
We're just like scatter shooting this topic here. So
sorry. I just had real questions about like the contradictions. Like I have one contradiction that I want to ask about. Like, okay, I have a verse. Okay, John 3:13. No one has ever gone into heaven except the one who came from heaven, the Son of the Man. Okay, and then 2 Kings 2:11. As they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them. And Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. So doesn't that like contradict like no one has ever gone up into heaven? Like, you know what I mean? Like verses like that. Like,
well, did you read the context before both of the texts?
My God, it's always context, bro. Like,
if you can't just take these verses
let me
out of context.
The whole verse, because I swear every time like it never does anything.
Wait, I have a question. Have you read the whole Bible?
Colton, one sec, guys. Colton, can you describe the context for that specific?
Well, I mean, I currently can't because I don't have that all memorized. But when you're just cherry picking these verses and not reading,
it literally says Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind, and then the verse literally says no one has ever gone into heaven except one who came from heaven, the Son of Man.
Which one was first, John or Elijah?
Which more context do you need? And no, I haven't read the whole Bible. Like, have you read the whole Quran? You don't need to read the whole Quran to not believe in it. Like, I don't need to read the whole Bible to not understand it. I've read enough, definitely enough.
Can I say I've read both, and there's some value in reading it only because so many people believe it, and it would help us in the world to understand what motivates other people to understand their beliefs. So in that sense, I think it's useful to read the books of probably the four major religions.
Yeah, like I don't think any Christians take time to like read the Quran or anything. They're already like, oh, my religion is right. You know, that like my grandpa was like, he was like a really big like my grandpa is still like a little like our relationship has I hate it, like just me telling him like opening to him about me being an atheist. Like he doesn't hate me, but it's just like it's definitely different. Like I'm still his grandson. I'm still the same person. I'm just open. I just told him like yeah, grandpa. Like I was questioning him, and I just told him like yeah, grandpa. I just don't believe in God.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
The Quran doesn't invalidate the Bible except though that it challenges the claim of Jesus' divinity. Right, Colson? It puts Jesus on. It lists him as a prophet. It sees him as a prophet, just as Muhammad was a prophet. But then it just says Muhammad's the last one, so that supposedly his word trumps the other because it's like the last word. I don't think that either of them are valid in terms of supernatural claims, but. Sorry, that was a tangent.
I always had a problem with God sending His Son. Because I have kids, I could not imagine sending my child. I would go in first. I always had a problem with sending your child. That always bugged me.
Yeah. Well, same thing with Abraham, right?
Right.
And Isaac. So.
Yep.
Colson, do you have a problem with? How do you respond to that? Well, obviously you wouldn't, but I mean, yeah. How do you respond to how could a father send his son?
The word son, I feel like it's used metaphorically to separate God and Jesus, but they're also one at the same time. So I mean, it's kind of hard to put.
Yeah.
You know, the Trinity is.
Well, it's a contradiction in logic. I understand, so we can't resolve that.
Yeah. And the Trinity is nowhere in the Bible whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Trinity that strikes me is that the Trinity was arguably the most contentious thing in the first 3 or 4 centuries, right? And it has continued to this day, although it was somewhat resolved in.
That's like the thing with free will. There's nowhere in the Bible talks about free will, but that's the first thing that you hear.
It literally says it in the Bible. I can't bring up the verse right now because it'll kick me out alive. But literally,
No, it don't. I can read the Bible to you in Hebrew. Because
it does bring up the Trinity and it brings up free will.
There's different on the Trinity. Colson, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it uses the word Trinity, but it uses. There are phrases that sort of imply, right? But I believe there are phrases that sort of imply different interpretations, right? There's some that imply Jesus was the Son, and there's others that imply Jesus was actually also God, just as God is Father, right? So that's why it became such a point of argument and debate about what's the right interpretation. Those first 300 years before things were canonized, and canonized didn't. I don't even think that canonization resolved the Trinity. It resolved it in some religion, some sects. I don't know which ones, but yeah, there's how do you define the Trinity, Colson?
Well, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
But in terms of that conflict between God becoming man, but then he always was, or
well, the thing is, I mean,
how does it work in your mind?
How would God explain himself becoming human? It's kind of hard to break apart, like to explain in words how a all-powerful becomes human, to break apart from himself.
Then why couldn't he just come down as himself? Why did he have to come down as supposedly a different
right?
Die for our sins.
Man.
It may be.
That's a later question. But why couldn't he just come down in his own form?
And then just get rid of all his sins? That wouldn't see, the thing is, the reason why he doesn't show indefinite proof is so you can have a real relationship with him, because everybody wants to believe.
Definite proof. You mean definite proof, but okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Say again?
I mean, if he, showed full proof of him being real, how would you have a real relationship with him when you're just falsely believing so you can get
married 26 years and I can have a full relationship with my wife?
If he appeared in front of me, I would have a real relationship, no doubt. I would apologize.
So you can get into heaven. That's what the majority would do. They wouldn't.
Don't you find that really peculiar that you're arguing that because we don't have sufficient evidence, that's actually a stronger argument for believing him, doesn't it? Do you use that kind of logic anywhere else in your life?
Guarantee proof, but there's no guarantee proof of there being no God or a God.
You're right. Exactly. We're fine there. Exactly. We're in agreement there.
Believe in a God or no God. That doesn't make any sense.
You're right there.
I don't accept.
From what I know, the universe can exist without a God. Just that's how I see it.
There's always a creator. There has to be a.
Who created God?
Creation. He was there in the beginning.
The universe was there since the beginning. All the energy and matter was there.
Literally, creation needs.
Who created God? Who created God?
Like I said, he's the beginning and the end.
Like I said, the universe is the beginning.
Guys. Let's do questions and answers. So if you ask a question, let the other guy answer it. So
I'm just saying, I'm just simply saying it's a circular.
Who created God? Colson, what's your answer to that?
He was always there.
He was always there. How do you know he was always there?
Because he's the beginning and the end.
That's an assertion. So how do you justify that assertion?
In the Bible.
Because it's in. Okay, so you believe it because you believe the Bible is true. And so why do you believe the Bible is true, considering especially that it has odd things donkeys talking and people coming back to life?
Do you want me to say for the Bible or Christianity?
Bible.
I believe.
Just fine. Yeah, Bible. 'Cause I'm just following what you said, so I don't want to complicate it and go on tangents. So,
Well, basically, I believe in the Bible because I believe in Christianity.
okay, so you believe in the Bible because that's circular. Because Christianity is
It'd be an easier question. Why do I believe in Christianity?
it is you're a follower of Christ, right?
Yes.
And your belief in Christ comes from the written Bible,
Yes.
right?
But I believe in a God because of basic
and
morality.
then Christianity is just the religion of that, right? It's just basically those two together. But they don't justify each other. It's circular to say they justify each other. We know that they exist. I'll just say that Jesus existed. I don't have a problem with that. But why do you consider the Bible a correct book?
Well, first of all, it's the biggest religion in the world.
But Islam will be biggest soon. So where's that argument?
There's no proof of that.
It wasn't the biggest. It wasn't the biggest at the beginning, and there were tons of religions before that. There was the the Martian gods and Martian gods. Sorry, the pagan gods, Mars, and all that, and then Norse gods came later. That's like 900. So.
But if
that's not.
Everybody believed it.
That's not enough of a reason, especially when you consider the locality of it, right? And now we have. Do we know? Honestly, guys, is Hinduism the biggest, or is it Christianity?
It's Christianity.
Christianity, and what's number 2?
It's Islam.
Right,
and then Hinduism is 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
So yeah, it's currently the biggest. But that doesn't mean it's true. It means that most people follow it. And that, like I just said, that is trending away. That's going to change. So,
but why do you believe billions of people believe in Christianity? Do you think it's just
indoctrination?
You guys want to answer that, and I'll give my answer.
Indoctrination. Like, I was indoctrinated. Like, if I was born into a Muslim family, I would most likely be Muslim. I was born into a Christian family, so I'm going to be Christian. But I grew out of it with my own questions, my own thoughts. Even seeing lives just like this, like you know, it's indoctrination.
But all these questions could be answered online.
Yeah, the biggest Colson, I'm sorry, mangle your name. The biggest factor in research that's been done on this is the religion that you were raised in. So, and considering that it's a big religion, I also think personally that it's perhaps the most desirable because of the afterlife sort of hope. Shoot, there was another thing and I can't think of it now. I'm trying to think of what Christianity has that other religions don't offer. Of course, the forgiveness of sins. So those two things are very desirable. You know, that you're not going to die, that you're going to see your loved ones again, and you get this forgiveness from your sins. I think those are very desirable features that not all religions.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. Like I said, the first one comes from studies, and the other two are kind of my observation.
Well, hell can be scary.
Now,
well, then even if I just feel like we need more of because even if one person believed in Christianity and it was true, it would still be true. Like, even though only one person believed in it, like numbers doesn't make a belief true. Like, that's irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, we can sort of put a little bit of a contrary on here. If there was a religion that basically was very authoritarian and demanding and said, I am the God, you must worship me, and you get nothing for it, kind of thing. There's no afterlife, but I created you, therefore I deserve it, and that's it. That's the end of it. You wouldn't have as many followers. It's just not as desirable. It's just not. So people would go, because especially when you're young and you're trying to, and you get that first time of thinking for yourself more than as you get into the bigger world and stuff. A lot of people go through this sort of seeking period, right, where they number one, they culturally have been taught that they have to have a religion or they should have a religion.
Yeah.
And then they go out and they investigate different religions to see which one makes the most sense and is most of interest to them. So if there was an evil, deity kind of a thing, doesn't matter if they thought it was true by these kind of logical or intuitional inferences, but they wouldn't follow it. They would go look another way. That's one reason you see people go into Buddhism, for example, because a lot of people think that's very desirable. They like this sort of kind nature of it and the non-expansionary nature of it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think Christian debaters debate hundreds of atheist debaters and still be Christian afterwards?
Because, well, that's a big question. There is something called confirmation bias. There are sunk cost fallacies. There are, like I said, the desirability is always there to believe, and it's
like literally
really
my
hard
grandpa,
to
for example.
turn that off. There's the fear of hell. There's lots of reasons, Colson.
My grandpa's very biased. He says, I know, like if I ever have disbelief, I know it's just the devil speaking in my ear. Like, they're even told like that even if they like, just them questioning thing is just the devil speaking in their ear. Like, they want you to believe that me trying to leave Christianity is just like the devil. Like there's so many things that like that keep them being Christian. It's like
yeah. There's lots of reasons. I mean, some people just go through life and don't question it. My mom was like that. She was Catholic. I was raised Catholic, and she just kind of practiced it her whole life, right? And never went through it, or never challenged it. She actually never read the Bible, which I thought was odd. But to get a little closer to your question, Colson, because there are, let's take somebody really strong. Let's go with oh crap. Who's like the William Lane Craig? Okay, arguably the strongest apologist out there. I mean, we do agree he's like one of the top ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's been through a lot of debates, and he's a very smart guy, and he still believes he's one of the more intellectually honest ones that I've seen, because he also admits that his core belief does not come from reason and logic. And you can look up you can see those explanations, because he's given that one multiple times. He goes into this, backs into the Lord is my savior kind of thing. So I kind of interpret that as a desire. He wants it to be true. So I think he's convinced. I think he thinks his arguments are absolutely correct. But I don't think he wants to let it go. I took a class, like a 12-week class at a Catholic church once. It was like a renewing your faith kind of a thing. I was already a strong atheist at that. Well, not a strong atheist, an atheist. I'm an agnostic atheist. And I went as sort of a cultural anthropology type of thing. I wanted to see how people were reacting to this class and what they were doing. And I was honestly looking for. I'm always open for new information, and if they tell me something that I don't know that's new, I'm willing to take it in. But I watched a lot of people, and we were at like different tables, and they kept moving us from week to week. People saying stuff like, I have doubts, and then that caused me to sort of let my practice of the religion sort of slide, right? Not kind of like skip Sundays and things like this. And they, for whatever reason, they were coming back to try to renew their faith or strengthen it, find a way to strengthen it. And it was fascinating to me, because they would give us, it was like a 20-minute video and 20 minutes of table discussion kind of a thing. they would show us this video, and I could see errors in the logic, and at times very often they were jumping into the faith argument, and it wasn't deep philosophy. It was a layperson thing, and people were going almost entirely like, yeah. They buy right into it. It's just like they needed to hear the words again because I hadn't heard it for a while, even though the arguments didn't make objective strength and had objective errors in them. I guess fallacies would be the proper word, but they didn't notice them. They absolutely did not notice them, and I found that fascinating. And I brought it up to a couple people. I mean, I let everybody know that I was an atheist, and I was very kind and polite and stuff. And I didn't push too hard because I wasn't there to talk them out of it. I was just there to understand how they believe and how they maintain belief, because I study belief. So, but yeah, it's hard to let it go, Colson. It is really difficult. I mean,
can another Christian join? Nate? Does Nate want to join? I want to talk to. Yeah.
Okay, let's pull Nate up.
Try to pull somebody out of their faith. I just want to know, have they ever asked like certain questions?
Yeah,
I'm just skeptical. Pulling my
I am still open to believing in any God that is true. I'm not saying that there is no God, but there's no God that I believe in right now.
Any scrutiny.
Let me see. I don't see Nate.
Well, I don't want to say but like just judging off the Bible, I could say the Christian God doesn't exist because the Bible does have contradictions. I'm not gonna lie, I could
disprove anything.
I'm agnostic to most, but the Christian God, I'm atheist.
But if God said that he was a square and a circle at the same time, like that's a logical contradiction. Like it's just not like you just can't believe in that. Contradictions you just can't brush past them.
Hello.
Guess what? God didn't
Welcome up, Nate. Welcome up, Nate.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Pretty good. What's your age, Nate?
You gotta be 18.
I'm 15.
15?
Yes.
I think you gotta be 18, like TikTok guidelines. Well, I don't know how TikTok feels about it, but
I think I am actually not sure on this. I know that if you're not 18,
I think you have to be 18 to be on live. I think that's actually a TikTok terms of service agreement.
All right. Okay. Sorry, Nate.
Yeah, I think having people younger than 18 could get your live
Discord
flagged.
or something else. But keep at it, Nate, and come back and talk to us.
Okay, but Colson, you said like God didn't write the Bible or whatever. So the Bible. Do you think the Bible has no contradictions, Colson?
No.
It has none?
No. All I'm saying is contradictions written by man doesn't mean there's no God.
Okay, so what words in the Bible are like, because if this is a screw up in there, then I'm questioning what other things have been screwed up in the Bible since it was written by man or whatever. Like, is this even the real Bible we're reading?
It is. There's cross links. I mean, this is the most notable source of information from the time.
And I just want to throw out there that I'm not agreeing with you, Colson, that there are no contradictions, but I don't have the expertise to counter that. But that's all I'll say.
Because
you can look up each contradiction online, and it perfectly explains it.
And I can, trust me. Every time I've read an apologist book, it falls apart about two paragraphs. So, but we're not going to argue over something we can't really cover.
Okay, so and I have a question about God himself. Why did God desire to create us anyways? This is why I'm questioning this, because God himself is perfect, so he desires perfectness. He's a perfect being. He's already the best. He's already perfect. There's nothing better than God. So why did he even desire, why did he want to create us if nothing could have made anything better with God just existing alone? Could I desire to add more, could I desire to add something better to a perfect pizza?
Well,
Yes, I just looked up the terms of service and it said 13 years old.
Oh, okay.
all right, Jokey, I'll explain it. Are you saying like why aren't humans perfect?
That's another I could ask that, but no. But what I'm wondering first is why like God desired to create anything other than like perfect to begin with, because God was already God existing alone. Like it was nothing else but God. Like it was already perfect. It couldn't have been better. So why did God create anything?
Well,
Was
that's
he
like an
bored? Like did
unanswerable
the perfect
question.
being get bored?
Well, there's no like, I can't tell you because there's no like actual scripture of why he made humans.
Fair answer.
God created everything perfect except for Lucifer.
So,
And the only reason he did that was to give everybody free will so that he can love. Because
why
if you
did
didn't have free will, it's not
create the
true
devil
love.
knowing that why does God create his own enemies knowing they will be enemies? Like what? Like is he like bored? He wants to battle with himself. Like okay, I don't have any enemies. Let me create one real quick. Did he do that?
He wanted to give free will to the humans because
So he needed
it's
to
not
create
true
Satan.
love.
It needs to be
It's
evil
not
as
true
well.
love unless you have free will. You can't make somebody love you. That's not how that works. You have to have free will. That's why he created Lucifer.
What happened to
To give
Paul?
us free will.
What happened to Paul then?
To what?
Paul. He was struck down on the road to Damascus. His free will was taken from him.
You can apply that to any human ever.
But there is no free will in the Bible whatsoever.
Yes, there is.
You have the decision to believe God or not. That's why we're in this debate. Therefore, that's free will.
What do you mean there's no?
Hey, Nate, how old are you, bro? How old are you, Nate?
15.
Oh, hell no.
There's no mention of free will in the Bible.
Oh,
Yes,
no
there
mention
is.
of it.
Look it
Okay.
up.
What do you recall, Colson? You're
I've seen it online that there is free will in the Bible. You can literally just look up free will in
Hey,
the Bible.
host, you gotta kick that minor, bro. He gonna get you banned.
Yeah, but no, another thing is like why like God created heaven and earth.
sorry.
What's better?
Nate, I'm
Heaven
sorry.
or earth?
I'm gonna put you down. I'll look it up for next time, but since I'm unsure.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I never see kids online. Everybody who's under 18 always gets kicked. Like I've never seen someone.
Sorry, Nate. I
under
promise
18.
I'll look up the terms of service and
Yeah, no minors, bro.
figure it out for next time. So.
I want to say one thing. It's amazing that these two Christians did come up in here and try to have a discussion. So amazing job.
I love Christians. I'm still open to believing in Christianity. Like, if any Christian, I'd love the smartest Christian to try to prove Christianity to me. Like, I'd be open.
Well,
But I do have like a lot of questions. Like, okay, like what is better, heaven or earth?
Well, heaven.
Okay, so why didn't God just put us on heaven?
That's an unanswerable question. Again, like.
No,
But doesn't he desire us to like be in heaven over like be in like the perfect heaven over earth? Isn't that what an all good God would want for
This
the
guy
better for us?
asked all the questions I used to ask.
Well, the thing is, like, I mean, we can't. That's not something that I can answer because there's like, if I told you.
So God just wants us to suffer on earth first before we go to heaven.
Jake, let him finish his sentence.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Colson.
Well, I mean, humans wouldn't suffer if humans didn't make certain causes for those sufferings.
But like, we wouldn't be able to sin or anything in heaven. We wouldn't even be able to like do anything bad in heaven. So we should have just been put on heaven to begin with.
That's your opinion, then.
How do you think sin entered in?
God. Well, no, that the devil did. But without sin and evil,
I think he was right the first time.
Without sin and evil, we aren't humans. We couldn't be humans if we didn't have sin and evil and wrongdoing.
So are we not humans? Oh, my bad.
Okay, if we couldn't do anything wrong or evil, we would be robots. It's just common sense. We wouldn't have our own consciousness. We wouldn't be able to do literally anything.
But then why can't he at least prevent things that are not deserving, like childhood cancers and things like that have nothing to do with an individual's free will and decision?
I can answer that question. So,
okay.
So you're saying that God created cancer?
I'm saying he allows it. If he's there, he's allowing it to be.
God created everything, so yes, he did.
Well, the Bible said he created
brother, okay. Hold on. Chill.
No, let him answer.
Yeah, so I know that he created. Yes, God did create cancer, but so God is just, and there's a justified reason for doing so. So let me explain. So in the great fall of man, God seen that his creation wanted nothing to do with them, so he chose to limit his power and take a step back from man. And with that came chaos and all this disease and all this stuff that he, that
Sounds like he made a mistake then.
Where
By
are you?
stepping back.
God, I mean, if you want to call it that, but
How does
Sounds
a
like
God like? How does that
Sounds
work?
like a bad judgment.
And that's not scripture.
so the creation is telling the creator that his judgment is bad. How does that work?
Say that again?
How is the creation going to tell the creator that his judgment is not just? How does that work?
I'm sorry. A little slower, please. How does
the creation tell the creator that his judgment is not just?
Well, that's an interesting question because
It's actually fallacious. It's a fallacious question, is what it is.
No,
It's
it's not. Because the fact that we know what's moral when God in the Bible does stuff that is immoral, like genocide.
Prove that's immoral. Wait, are you an atheist?
Yes.
Okay, watch this. I'm about to rock your entire world, bro. And watch this.
Do it. Is there chocolate involved? Is there chocolate involved?
And don't say G side on your live. You're gonna get banned, by the way.
Say what?
G side.
Oh, no. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
He's right.
You might get flagged, but I'm just looking out. But okay, so you said it's immoral. By what standard is it immoral? Or is it just your opinion?
You don't need a standard. That's morality.
Morality is subjective, even to God, right?
Yeah.
No. Oh my gosh, brother. Are you guys serious? So for you guys to be saying what God does is immoral, and for you to just say that you don't
I'm not
need.
saying what. Okay, sorry.
You don't need to appeal to a standard, so it's just your opinion. So then it doesn't hold any weight.
You don't have to appeal to a standard. Explain
Okay, so
why
how do
you
you
have
know
to
what's
appeal.
moral?
Why do you have to appeal to a standard? Explain why.
Bro, we have to appeal to a standard for everything. So if we're not appealing to a standard, then how the hell do we know what's moral and what's immoral? That's literally a logical fallacy.
Isn't it biological? Like
you can figure out. You can compare two behaviors and see and determine which is better, which is worse, right?
Yeah, but you're still appealing to a standard by doing that.
Yeah, no, it's internal. You compare them to each other.
Okay, if it's internal,
There is no. This is a major problem that you guys have.
Oh my god!
It's stuck in your head that you have to compare it to this external thing, which is like a way of rationalizing that has to be there.
So you said that it's internal. So you said it's internal.
We are only products of physics. We each have some DNA in us that gives us some moral precursors, and that is functional. Some behaviors every behavior is functional.
Let's stick to one point. Let's not shotgun. Let's stick to one point because I actually want to have an intellectual conversation. This is what I do, right? So you said that it's internal. Okay, if it's internal, then I mean it's only your opinion. So therefore, it isn't your position. Your position isn't holding any weight. It doesn't have any force behind it. It's so like for example, if you say that, brother, please stop cutting me off, brother. I'm not going to cut you off.
Let him finish the sentence. Go ahead.
So like I was saying, if you say that G side is objectively wrong, it can be refuted because you're not appealing to no objective standard, So therefore, it's only subjective.
How does it refute it?
How can it be refuted? Mm-hmm. Because if you say G side is wrong, objectively, then
I say it's not objective. I said objective doesn't exist.
Okay, so it's subjective, which means, brother. Okay, chill, Jacoji, chill. So therefore, it's subjective, meaning that it's only your opinion, right?
Yes.
So therefore, why does it matter if it's only your opinion?
What's wrong with that?
Because no. Let me answer.
You guys don't see the problem with that?
Let me answer, guys. Let me answer. Because we live in society and we live in groups. You can go from modern society down to hunter-gatherer groups of 150 or 50 people, because behaviors have results, right? Some things endear us to others, and some things get us kicked out and shunned and knocked off or whatever. So there are results, and the more successful behaviors will be retained in future generations, and the less successful won't. And we are a combination of good and bad behaviors.
Well, how do you objectively know what's successful and what's not?
Because successful is defined by who survives.
Prove that. That's a claim. Prove it.
Oh God. You'd have to go study 3 years of evolution. Do you not believe in evolution?
Obviously, no. I'm a Christian, bro. I believe in God.
Not all Christians disbelieve in evolution.
Yeah,
Well,
I've seen
actually,
a lot of Christians.
evolution does not disprove God, but I don't believe that evolution is real. I believe that God.
So,
I believe in the Book of Genesis.
I understand. Obviously I can't prove it to you here. You're going to have to go study,
It's impossible.
you're going to have to go. It's not impossible.
Okay, so,
You're going against the consensus of the majority of scientists in
I want to ask you a
biology.
question. I want to ask you a question.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask you a question. So, as an atheist, would you say that humans decide what their purpose is in life?
Yeah, there's no intrinsic purpose.
Okay, perfect. So, if my purpose is to harm small children, why am I objectively wrong?
Why do you keep saying
You're not objectively wrong because there's no objective right and wrong.
Okay, that's disgusting. That's really disgusting.
Society will come down and take you out.
Doesn't matter. That's their opinion, though. That doesn't mean that it's objectively wrong. It's just their opinion. But that's disgusting that you said something like that.
No,
it's not really
one mic, bro. Damn.
I'll back off in a second because I'm responding too much. You're missing that there's a distinction between one person's opinion and a collective of subjective opinions, which is
so everybody. Saying that majority decides what's right and wrong.
not necessarily.
In a practical way, yes, but not.
Okay, no. Okay, so hold on.
Let me finish the sentence. In a practical way, yes, but not always, because we also sometimes write laws like the Bill of Rights that are not based on the majority opinion. Okay, you bet. Once something gets into law, then it gets hopefully carried out, right?
Okay, you bet. You said that majority decides what's right and wrong. You just said that out of your own mouth. The majority decides what's right and wrong in a practical way. So a majority said me as a black man was subhuman. Were they right?
Your Bible is.
Whenever you have a conflict like that.
I'm glad Jamie brought that up.
Jamie, stop doing that, brother. Please be respectful.
I'm going to answer this, and then I'm going to shut up, okay, and let you guys talk. So not too much. Shoot, now I forgot what you asked.
I'll repeat my question. For you. Yeah. You said that out of your own mouth. That majority decides what's right and wrong in a practical way. So I'm asking you, was it practical when majority decided that me as a black man was looked at as subhuman and we were treated as dogs and fed to alligators?
No, because there's another factor that you have to look at.
Refuted you. So do you concede that that's not practical?
Would you stop thinking so black and white and let me answer? Okay. Life is not simple. Life is not black and white. Life is all dichotomies. So you have to look at it a second factor, which is look at both sides. Okay? If there's a victim or an oppressed here, you've got to ask the question from the oppressed point of view. So if someone is put down, you have to ask them, are they okay with that? If they say no, then we call that wrong.
Okay, but you said that we don't appeal to objective standards, so by what standard are they oppressed?
You don't need a standard. That's what you're missing.
Do, bro.
You don't need a standard.
No, you don't. It's subjective.
How are they oppressed objectively?
Guys, I'm gonna back off. And let you guys interact.
Okay, look, bro.
Actually, can we do a little turnover too here, because there's other people who want to come in. Does anybody here want to drop?
Yeah,
voluntarily.
Believe in reality. When you speak, brother, you need to make sure that you're saying that it's my opinion. Don't say things objectively. Make sure it's only your opinion, because everything that you've been saying is only your opinion, because you don't appeal to no standard. So therefore, it's only your opinion, brother.
How many books have you read on anthropology and psychology and biology? Dude?
What the hell does psychology have to do with appealing to a standard?
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna bring. Okay, somebody, if you guys don't mind. And I'll bring somebody else up. So, Jamie, can I?
This is bad, brother. I'm destroying you right now. This is really bad. I'm destroying you.
I have a question for you, Theus.
I'm glad you think so.
I have a question for you, Theus.
Jamie, I'm gonna drop you if you don't mind. Okay.
This is bad. Go ahead,
Theus.
Jacoby.
So is it is it wrong to beat a slave if they recover after if they were so long as they recover after a day or two? Like, is it wrong?
Would you say that being a slave is bad?
Me, in my opinion, yeah.
Why is it bad?
I don't think owning anyone, because you shouldn't own anyone as property. Nobody should be owned as property.
Why is being owned as property bad, objectively?
It's not objective. People don't want to be owned.
Okay, then I don't care. I don't care about your opinion. I care about truth. I don't care about your opinion. I can appeal to a truth standard. You can't. Everything that you guys are saying is only your opinion because you guys don't appeal to no standard. And you said that out of your own mouth. So therefore, I don't care about your opinion. So don't say. So make sure when you speak, make sure to say that it's my opinion before. Make sure to preface it by saying that it's your opinion.
I have 10 years of research on this, dude. So.
Okay. That's an appeal to credential fallacy, and don't speak with objectivity if it's your opinion, because that's illogical. Make sure to say that it's only your opinion. Do you understand that, Jacoji, or is that too hard for you to grasp?
I understand. Nothing.
So why would I care about your opinion?
But okay, the reason why I brought that up is because if I would God see that?
You didn't
it's
answer
wrong?
my question. Why would I care about your opinion? Answer my question.
I guess you don't have to care.
Yeah, it is, because it doesn't matter. I care about truth. Now,
so is it true that if I were to beat one of my slaves and they recovered after a day or two, would it be wrong according to your religion, according to your standards?
What do you mean by cover?
Okay, so would it be wrong if I would it be wrong if I beat one of my slaves as long as they recover after a day or two? I beat them, but they do recover. I don't kill them; they recover after a day or two. Would it be wrong?
I just took him out because he's being too crude and cruel here. I'm gonna bring
I was just wondering because there's just the verse in the Bible, Exodus, it talks about it basically says you can beat your slave as long as they recover. You can beat them as long as they recover. It's God's giving rules on how to own slaves. Shouldn't be he should be giving rules on why you shouldn't own slaves. He should be saying you shouldn't own slaves, not giving rules on how to do it.
Different morals of the time. Jacob, you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do some turnover here. This whole thing about, I don't know what I'm talking about is, number one, it's rude. If we want to get down to more specific points, then we can debate those. But,
So with the traits being eliminated from the gene pool, could I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
So if being blonde meant that you couldn't pass down your genes, then no one would be left to be blonde, right? It's kind of a stupid example, but with what he said, I would just say something like that.
Yeah, I don't get the connection, but
it was just a point, because it was down to, he said something about genes. Not, you have to prove that genes are passed down and traits can be eliminated. Obviously, if a trait means you can't reproduce, then it's going to be eliminated from the gene pool.
Yeah. I mean, what he was really stuck on, not stuck, but he was really certain of, was that objective morality exists. And you see this all the time, where obviously it's a very common belief. It's very widely taught. But then you get into this kind of weird hole, because it's they start to mock you, because if you won't say that X behavior is objectively wrong, you must be this horrible person, even if you agree that X behavior is a bad thing to do, So it's this, and once someone gets in that mode, it's just they're stuck in a groove, and I don't see the. As far as my opinion goes, obviously we all have opinions, but I try very hard, to the best of my ability. We only all know so much, to refer to the consensus of those who study a subject the most, so have the best education, the most education and stuff. So, some of my stuff is opinion, and I just thought it was too harsh. And then we start going round and round. So, yeah.
So
go ahead, guys.
I don't have a specific like religious denomination, but I do believe in sort of an Einsteinian sort of probabilistic God.
Why do you call it God? You talking about a Spinoza type of thing?
I don't know what that refers to, but I was an atheist for a while, actually.
It refers to the idea that like the universe is God, and or that sort of nebulous.
I guess kind of. It's down that trail, yeah. It's more so that you know how when you say there's a God who created the God, and it creates that problem of who created the God, who created the God, who created the God forever. It kind of addresses that one, but then also you mentioned something earlier that kind of flows through this in that sort of being absolute about things. So
yeah, you gotta be careful with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what color is the wall in front of you? Just out of curiosity.
Say again.
What color is the wall in front of you? Just out of curiosity.
Sky blue.
Are you absolute about that?
Well, I don't have a color chart. So, I mean, absolutely. If we're going to honestly have an absolute discussion, we don't know more than what Descartes said. I think, therefore, I exist.
Yeah.
And that's absolutes are not real practical in colloquial conversation. So as long as I don't have a problem with talking absolutes, as long as both sides hold themselves to that limitation.
Yeah.
So when I was like a true like hardcore atheist, my answer would be that I'm absolute about absolutely nothing. But then I kind of realized that there has to be something, right? Clearly, this dialogue, whether your skin is green and we're actually on fire right now, whatever, something is happening, right? There's something that exists.
Yeah. Well, if there's if you can't absolutely be sure about anything, which is true, absolutely. Then don't bother having any conversations or interactions with anybody. So yeah. I try to take away that low bar and say, can we at least start our conversations by saying that number one, reality exists and we both share it. So something like that. And it's we put away the absolutes, because the thing that bugs me a lot, and I just put a post on this, there's a short and a longer one, that theists often will say, like presuppositionalists especially, that atheists say stuff at an absolute, and you can't absolutely know that. Do you absolutely know that's true? And they cycle you around, but then they don't apply the same standard to themselves. So
I always wondered why.
Absolutely.
I always wondered why like other animals besides humans don't really have any religions or beliefs like that in God. I think I always just assume like it's because humans are the most intelligent, and it would just make sense that we create things like religion. But like God created the other animals.
I can kind of answer that actually pretty well. It is due to the complexity of our brains. We were. If you go back about 7 million years, look at the common ancestors of humans and apes and primates and stuff. Or we are primates, but at some point in the past, we developed the ability to hold, number one, theory of mind, which is the knowledge that others have a mind that's not the one that's in our head, right? That one over there has a mind, and then you get worried about what it might do because it doesn't necessarily do what you want it to do. And then the other thing is, as the brain grows, you also have the ability to, this is the frontal lobe stuff especially, because we have such a huge frontal lobe, is the ability to hold abstract concepts. All right. And anthropologically, the consensus is that it probably started from not understanding what dreams were, because like in dreams you would like see your relatives and stuff. So that's kind of how ancestor worship started. They think the precursors of religion are actually ancestor worship, and there's that one, and there's animism, which is like a Native American thing. There's the wind is a being, and it brings me luck if I pray to it and sacrifice to it. Those types of concepts are the precursors to modern religion. And animals don't have the ability to conceive of that stuff, except for maybe the ones with big brains.
Yeah, I also feel like a lot of religions are used to like kind of cope in a way to feel better or safer about like afterlife, just like the afterlife and stuff, and like just to make life feel better. And I feel like that's a good
believe
thing.
in
I
my
don't feel
God
like
or you'll go to hell. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like religion is good if it's not like forced or like used to make anyone feel like bad or something, or like because like Christianity, I feel like my great grandma, like I feel like she's made it like I feel like she's the woman she is today because of because of her religion, and I wouldn't want to change that even if I don't believe in Christianity. You know what I mean? Like my great grandma wouldn't be my great grandma if she wasn't Christian.
I think you might,
and I love my great grandma.
Not giving her enough credit, but okay, fair enough.
Yeah, like I guess I'm not, but it's like because that is my grandma. Like what can I say? Like she just wouldn't. I guess she just wouldn't be the grandma I know if she wasn't like raised Christian.
Would she be a bad person? Would she be a bad person?
I'm not saying that. I don't know if she would be better than who she is now or worse. But I just know I love her the way she is now, and I couldn't imagine anything like else.
The Ten Commandments, just to make a point, are not great. I mean, no, they're okay. The first three are useless. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, those types of things. All the ones about how to behave, the 7 at the bottom there are good. But it's a small list. It could have been much bigger. You want to see
with the thou shalt not believe any gods before me. Do you not? So, if you have the omniscience,
let me just finish the sentence. There are much better lists, and the one I like to point people to these days in modern times is look at the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is like 150 or 50 things long or something. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
The Ten Commandments could have been much better. It could have been 20 better commandments, and one of them certainly should have been, you can't own other people. So it's okay as far as it went at the time, but it could have been much, much better, and it's certainly not enough. What were you going to say, Gaines?
Do you think it allows for like the pagan gods within it? Because no gods before me, but if you're the ultimate first, you're the creator of everything. Wouldn't that kind of mean that you can have gods after you, like Thor and Zeus and all that?
No, my opinion, and not being a biblical scholar, but is that no gods before me just really demonstrates that people believed in many gods in that culture. Mm-hmm. And frankly, it demonstrates even more importantly that the biblical writers believed it. Because you would have no need for that commandment if the biblical writers, supposedly being inspired by God, told what to write. There would be no need to write that commandment because God would know that there's no other gods. And yet this commandment is in there. So that to me is a very strong demonstration. This is a book written by people who believed in a God, not deity inspired.
There is a reason that he put it in there, though. It is because there was other religions at the same time that he ordered the 10.
I'm sorry, you're too young. So I'm
18. I'm 18.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and repeat yourself, please.
There was other religions in the first century when the 10 Commandments were actually...
Reggie, when was your birthday?
February 7th.
What year?
2000.
No. No.
The math is not mathing.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Next time, Reggie. I wish I could. I truly do.
I was gonna say, like, this dude does not sound 18.
That voice is not. That was not him.
I hate judging people's voice because I feel like I don't sound like older than 18 myself. But I'm just like, is he really 18? Like, I don't know if he's.
Yeah, it's hard. Tell
But
the
yeah,
bank
I
guys
also
for helping me there.
another issue I have with Christianity is like I feel like God, like the pick and choosing like type of God, like when someone is like miraculously saved by something, like when my grandma survived like lung cancer, like she was thanking God and all that, but I started thinking about my aunt like 2 years ago who died of lung cancer. Like, dang, why didn't God save my aunt?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
yeah,
believe in God, but it just made me think of stuff like that. Like, does he just pick and choose who he wants to, like, okay, this person deserves saving, this person don't. I'm going to save this one. I'm not going to save this one. I'm going to say, like, it, like, I don't want to, like, it's really, like, weird to think of God like that. Like,
yeah.
I feel like they're making God sound like they're embarrassed. Like, I feel like some Christians embarrass their God themselves. Like, is God, like, a pick and chooser? Like, is he really the one to think here?
You
Like,
guys remember, like, was it 10 years ago, roughly, or something like that? The tsunami that came across the I think it came across the Pacific, but it went into like the Philippines and killed 250 million people.
dang.
Is it 250 or is it 250,000?
I think
Maybe misplaced.
250,000 sounds more because 250
Okay,
million.
yeah,
That's a
250
whole
million. Yeah, okay, let's just call it 250,000. But it was huge.
yeah,
It was huge.
yeah. That's still a
I
lot.
mean, why couldn't God like not have the tsunami if he's all that powerful?
I feel like a Christian would say it was for a better, a greater good that we don't understand because we're not God.
And that's the BS rationalization. There's nothing about free will in that and available, so you have to go with he must have known what he was doing.
I've even heard Christians say stuff like the smaller cost or something was actually good because like it was for the greater good because God let it happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like the world would be worse if it didn't happen. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
I believe it. I believe in God, but I don't believe God dictates morality.
Yeah, like I feel like I've always felt like and then morality, like humans, like us as humans collective, like our morals are like always changing. Like, like in America it was like, like slavery was more prominent. After a while, like it was like it changed. Like a lot more people started thinking it was wrong, and it changed rapidly. And then same thing with I don't know, like same thing with like the LGBTQ stuff, and like people are saying that, oh, more people are becoming gay now. I just feel like more people are more open to coming out now.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's still the same amount of gay people. I just feel like they're more because less people are oppressing them. And then I say that like the same with like left-handed people. Like, didn't more people start like coming out as left-handed when it stopped being seen as like a like what was it seen as some kind of like curse? I don't know.
There was prejudice against it, and there were some people who thought it was a demonic thing. And guys, 5-minute warning here. I'm going to wrap it up.
Oh, okay, that's all good. I have to get ready for bed myself. It's been a good talk. I'm gonna follow you. I might join again. So
thank you.
Have some more questions.
James, did you have anything else to say?
Yeah. So we do have like a reality, right? So on some level, like whether that was created or it's eternal, it's always been. There is. I mean, you. I'm not. This isn't really the right word to use. I was going to say reason for being. Whether that be some law of physics or whatever, but there is something.
There's not a reason. There's a function.
Right. But a base function.
There's a how, but there's not a why. Does that work?
Yeah. Well, the thing I was thinking is that there's just a base something that actually is, right?
Yeah, we exist. Reality exists. Yes. Okay.
So what I got to is basically that just simply that's God, and that I don't attach anything to God except for that. But to say that, like,
why? Well, what does God mean to you in terms of like a definition? It doesn't have to be the Christian God, but just what is that?
The reason for all that is basically.
That's circular. So you got to come up with something.
Well, I think that's what. You don't think that's what God would be, though? Is circular?
Yeah. No, you can't say the answer is the reason. Basically, is what you just said.
Well, why not?
Because it doesn't say anything. It doesn't solve any. You're not solving the equation.
Doesn't it solve everything?
No, because there's no justification for it. It is just a blind statement.
Well,
You can't say, you just can't say that. I'm trying
I
to
would say
think
it's a
of an
blanket statement. I would say it's a blanket statement.
No, it's not. That's not the problem with it. The problem is it doesn't tie. It's a non sequitur because the things don't tie, and that's kind of what I was trying to get to with you is why do you connect reality? What justifies you connecting reality to a God concept? Why
Well,
does
it'd kind of be that they're one and the same.
Why does the fact that reality exists make you believe that there is a God?
Well, I would say that God is the reason. Well, it's circular logic again. I just think that the answer to God would be circular logic.
Yeah, and then and that's not an argument. So that's.
So you don't think? So you don't think there's a?
That's why I ask you to get a little more specific on what you mean by the word God, because we could say, I mean, most Christians, doesn't have to be Christian, most deists, let's go there, who believe in it in a, I'm trying to think of a different word for God, but because there's so much baggage in that word.
We're thinking of something that just simply is, whether that be a law of physics or whatever. Yeah, I could even say that that's like the God equation.
If it just simply is, then we don't need the word God. We could just say the universe.
Oh, yeah, I would say God is. But just
why do you have to add the God concept? I don't see why you have to. It's like additional baggage that sort of means other things also.
You don't, but you would say is, and I would say like when people talk about God, if they're looking for His name, they have Yahweh and Allah. God would simply be is.
Okay, well, that's useless. That's just a straight up assertion. Because I mean, I can understand the God concept in terms of God. God was a creator who intentionally made us and cares about us and those types of things. Not that I think it's justified to believe it, but I understand the concept. So when I'm kind of bothered when people use the word God in other ways. I looked up in the dictionary a few times, different dictionaries, and when you say something like God, you're referring to a supernatural element. And
why is it not supernatural? Couldn't it just be natural?
No.
Why does it have to be supernatural?
Because then you don't need it. It's like, why do we need Thor if we know how lightning works? You're just adding another element.
But wouldn't that just make lightning Thor, though? Like,
no, you have no reason. You drop the extraneous because there's no reason to believe it's there because it's entirely unneeded. That is why that's why there's such a kickback against evolution, because evolution takes out the need for a creator. Doesn't disprove it, but it takes out the need. I mean, you have the explanation. You don't have to say God created evolution, any more than I can say, XYZ person created it. It's a redundant piece of information. It's not knowledge; it's information because it's just a word that has no association. So the universe exists. It's a physical thing, right?
So when Einstein said God, though, because he would use God to describe like the laws of physics, like what is God telling me, and the laws of physics to him were like God's language. But he used that allegorically to describe God. You don't think there's like a beautiful sort of meaning there?
I don't know. I think it's a mistake that he and several others have made all the way up to Stephen Hawking, actually, early in his writing career.
Why do you think they made that mistake?
I'll tell you, because I think they grew up in a culture, particularly, let's go back a little further, like someone like Darwin, right, who definitely grew up in a culture that believed in a God, as did he when he was younger. And then he came up with this explanation for, how animals get to more complexity over time. And suddenly he realized that the God explanation was no longer needed. So even though he referred to it earlier in his career, and by the time you get into late in his career, you find out that they kind of turned back on that. That's maybe not I don't remember Darwin specifically because he's still in a generation that was shunned upon for not believing. Certainly, Einstein grew up Jewish and with a strong God belief around him. He definitely wrote many letters over later in his life to clarify his position, because he did use some phrases that sounded like it would support the God concept, and then he later clarified that these were kind of like you say, sort of either allegorical or sort of habits kind of thing. And Stephen Hawking did the same thing in his first book.
So you're saying, like, if we understand it, then it's not God?
I'm saying you don't need the word, because the word has much more baggage. It doesn't mean anything. God has a deity, has a supernatural component. If you don't have a supernatural component, it's just nature. It's just physics and chemistry.
You know how, like, a caveman, like, if I gave my cell phone to a caveman, he'd be like, "Whoa, this is magic," basically.
Yeah, he would believe it's something magical, but it wouldn't be magical, right? Difference between belief and
not to us, but to him. So I'm just saying, like,
right. But again, listen to that sentence again. You're correct. He would believe it's magic, but it wouldn't be magic. He just wouldn't know enough to understand it. So that doesn't mean you don't put the word God in there, right? Because we know in the 21st century, we know a lot of physics, we know a lot of stuff. We don't. So it's wrong to. It doesn't make sense. It's a non sequitur to put a God concept where it's not needed. It's just, why would you put God on top of physics, on top of cheesecake? I mean, you don't. These things have no relationship to each other.
So, but like, if we went to another alien planet with like cavemen type people, and we went to them, and they look at us and they're like, "Whoa, you're God." We would know what we are, but to that caveman, we would be God. And so if that caveman says, "You're God," well, we went through all of this knowledge learning what really God meant, especially to that caveman. So now that we have that understanding, we now know what the caveman is referring to when the caveman says God. It's sort of the infinite, scalable.
Okay, but you and I are in the 21st century, right? And we've had some science education. I don't know how much you've had, but you've had certainly, in middle school, you get bits of all the sciences.
I've got a bachelor's degree, but it's in psychology.
Oh, but still, I mean, that means you've had, 2 years of science in high school, and then several years of science before that, into various degrees, like I say, in middle school especially. So, just the concepts of physics and chemistry and biology, and, all this stuff is functional working of nature. We call it nature. We don't call it God, because God implies.
You don't think nature is God, though?
No. I think it is the word.
Well,
God.
is it okay? What is God, though?
Okay, the word God. First off, the word God implies a mind, an independent mind, right? It implies a creator with a mind with an intention. There is no intention in physics. So to say that all of the universe is God is just wrong.
Well, isn't there kind of our intention? Not necessarily. We don't really know that there's an intention to physics itself, but like when we go to understand it, our intention is to understand it.
Our intention is to understand it. Doesn't mean it has intention. If you put sodium and chloride together, they will come together and form sodium chloride. If you put sodium and chloride together and they're close enough in solution, they will come together to form sodium chloride. They do that because of electromagnetic attraction, laws of physics. There's no intention, there's no mind, there's no God involved. Does that make sense? So I don't understand.
So if we came across like a super advanced alien and we look at them, what are they to us? They are just super advanced technology.
Yeah, that would be the first. Yeah.
So if you take that super advanced technology into infinity, is that God?
No, because I think that's jumping too far. I mean, you watch Star Trek, right? You've watched some Star Trek.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
So it's like the Q character, for example, is a good, pretty close analogy to what you're describing, right? Where it's like an alien, if you will. It's a being that exists in the universe that is so powerful that it looks godlike to us, right? And at least in the stories, they've told us that's not God; it's just a powerful something that they got a little vague on, so that it doesn't fall. The concept doesn't fall apart. So yeah, I mean, there would certainly be some people who go to the God concept because that's what's in their cultural mind. But
I'll say I'm being slightly facetious. I like it because it helps me describe that which is kind of impossible to know.
And I think you're misleading yourself. Then that's the problem with it, because you're adding things that shouldn't be added to the soup.
Well,
you're adding things that don't belong there. That
what have I added?
You've added intention. You've added supernatural. You've added.
I wouldn't necessarily add those things. I don't think I've added those things.
Well, I mean, you have to. It depends on how you are defining God. So, and which religion you're using and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
But I see no reason to fuzz the understanding by adding the God concept to physics. It's like we know how. That electrons have a negative charge and then protons have a positive charge. We don't need to say God is a piece of every proton on top of that information.
I'm saying necessarily the science that we don't know but will in a million years. If let's say we make it a million years, God would be that which we'll know in a million years. But we can't understand that now, so I just say that's God.
It doesn't work for me. That would just be more knowledge. I mean, compare us to what we knew 1,000 years ago. We are not gods now. We know what we know now that we didn't know 5,000 years ago is not God. That knowledge, that collection of knowledge that we can put in a hard drive or 10 hard drives, whatever, that is not God. That is just knowledge that we are now aware of. And there is no God that came along. It's just like now we have more understanding, and in the future they'll have that much more again. There's no God involved here.
I don't necessarily want you to believe what I believe. That's not like a prerequisite for me. Like what I love about other people is that they believe with their own things. That's what I think gives us real diversity.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get to at least to the point of understanding what I'm saying. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we're and meet you. So I hear you, but I don't get you in terms of that expectation. So, but that's okay. And sometimes that's all we can do is understand each other and then just say that was interesting and walk away. So,
what I will say before I go, so this is the funny part. I believe in non-human intelligence. All I would ask is that you look at the whistleblower David Grush's testimony in Congress in July of 2023. It's on YouTube. But I really appreciate our conversation.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gaines. And everybody, please be kind to each other. That's one of the most important things we could ever do. I'll see you next time.